Journalist outreach. It gets you backlinks, but it's a pain in the neck. What we're going to do in this video is automate replying to journalist queries coming from SOS Media. This is an email service that includes queries from journalists who are looking to interview people who, like you, if you have the skills or experience that they need to quote you. And a lot of times that can result in a backlink to your blog. So we're not just going to send AI content off to a journalist without looking at it first. We'll have the opportunity to read it and edit it before we send it. This email, journalist outreach, is kind of a pain to do. If we automate it, we'll get through a lot more of these queries and have a much greater chance to gain backlinks from good publications. This is lesson 11 from Nick Saraev's N8n Mastery course. In this lesson, we're going to scan our Gmail for SOS queries. Then we're going to split the queries into usable chunks, into individual queries, have AI draft an email message, and if we get a result, create a draft and label that draft in our folder like this. So this is SOS Interlux is my label, and this is the email that ChatGPT automation wrote for me. So let's start building this in N8n. The first thing that you'll do is create a Gmail trigger. So look for Gmail and then go all the way to the bottom and you'll click on, I can't click it because I've got one on my screen already, but it'll be down here. In the Gmail, you will probably set the mode to every day, but you can have it do anything you like. Since these emails come once a day, I think that makes sense to do once a day. Set the event to message received. Turn simplify off so that you get the text of the data. If you don't get the text, this is why. And set the search to subject : quote SOS media queries quote. Next, add an edit fields node to your workflow. And the edit fields node is going to split out the email so that we can get usable chunks. So the first portion of the split is going to be everything up to the actual queries. And we're going to use these asterisks to split the email. And then the second part will be all of the queries. But then in between each query are these 3 dashes, underscores. And so we'll use that to split one query from the next. And we're going to do that all in one SOS, all in one edit fields like this. JSON, $JSON inside the curly braces is your most previous input. So it's the Gmail output. Text is the name of the field that Gmail gives us to represent the content. There's HTML, there's text. And so text is the one we're going to use. That's our email. Then we're going to split the email at those asterisks that separate the introduction from the queries. And then we'll have two nodes in our array. So this is above the asterisks and this is below the asterisk. Then we're going to chain onto that split with a last. Now, if you run this, you'll get an error, but when we add the next piece of code, the error will go away. It's a quirk of N8n, the way that it thinks about arrays versus strings. So what last is doing is saying, okay, now just pare it down to all of the queries, everything below the asterisk. And so now we just need to parse out each one from the next, and that's where these underscores come in. So then we'll say dot split again, and in quotes, we'll put the underscores. Now, when we run this, we should get individual, and sometimes we don't. Okay, so N8n is super picky about spaces in the input box. The reason we got that error were the spaces right here. So what we got when we ran the split, and then the last, and then the split, the final split gave us each of the queries as an individual block, an individual node in the array. So now we can iterate through each query and see if it is something that we want to answer. In order to do that, we have to add a little kludge, a little piece of duct tape that takes the pieces of the array and makes them all individual array items. So instead of being below 0, below 1, it's going to hand the next step a string representing that used to be an array node. So we're going to split out the parts of the array into individual strings, and then we're going to pass those individual strings into ChatGPT. So the next node is OpenAI message a model. The resource is text, operation message a model. Model is GPT-4o. The first prompt, first message has a role of system. And the prompt is you're a helpful, intelligent administrative assistant. The second message is a user role, and this entire thing is in the link in the description. But the important part is that we're telling it to output whether or not the query is relevant to our expertise. If it is, to put the email draft in email body and put the journalist's email in the email field. And then we also give it a template for writing that email where the items in single braces are where we want ChatGPT to put its draft of our email. And the rest of this is hard-coded. And that is a user message. And then finally, we have a user message where we pull in the string that represents the current query, the batch array. It used to be a real array and now is a set of strings. When we click this operation, we have 8 items. We have 8 items, and one for each of the queries. Relevance would mean, true would mean that we have a hit on our expertise. So we have false, 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 but here's a true. And then here is the structured output that we requested. Relevance is true. Email body is my template with ChatGPT's message inside, and the journalist's email is .email. So we'll have one of these for every query, and we'll have one that's actually filled in for every query that is an actual hit. In the next step, you'll pull up a filter, and you'll check to see that the relevance field is true. If it's false, we don't want to create an email. So you're going to pull that over from the output, which looks like this. If we do pass through, then we're going to draft an email. This is Gmail draft, resources draft, operation is create, subject is your SOS query, email type is text, and the message is the email body from the structured JSON that ChatGPT built for us. And under add option, you'll select to email and you'll pull over the email address that it pulled out of the query for us. And then finally, we'll label that email so that we can find it in a specific folder. So this is a Gmail label, resources message, operation is add label, and we're going to pull the ID from the message into the message ID field. And then Gmail will return with the folders / labels that you have available to you, and you can put as many labels onto your output as you like. And when we're done, we will get a draft it'll start in draft, but it'll also be labeled as SOS Interlux in my case, which is much easier for me to see. And then this Hi Caitlin is going to be the substitute for the name of the journalist. Then this is my template. Then this is what ChatGPT wrote. And then this is the rest of my template. And here is her email. Or I can go to draft where I can edit the message because it's draft. And then I can make any changes that I like. And I can also change where it's being mailed from. And that is the 5-minute journalist outreach instead of the hour per email that we have done in the past. That was a lesson 11 from Nick Saraev's N8n Mastery course.